Now, as many of you know from my videos, and I'm very adamant about this, I did not like the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. I did not like it at all. I mean, I went there, I was super excited when The Force Awakens came out because, we hadn't seen Star Wars in a while. And then it came out, and I was just left with this flat feeling. And then when The Last Jedi came out, I was even more disappointed. And then the finale of The Rise of Skywalker just left me feeling empty inside. Empty. And I've been following Star Wars since it came out in 77. Um, but surprisingly, there is one thing in The Last Jedi that I really, really thought was super cool, super neat. And it kind of like fed back to Star Wars. There was a mention of it in Star Wars of what happened in The Last Jedi. And if you'll stick with me, I will let you know what that is. And I'll even bring up some clips and let you hear it from the people themselves. I had to go back because I have only watched it like once or twice, the last Jedi, because it really frustrated me so bad. And I just only watched it once or twice, like I said, and I had to relook at what happened because since I only saw it that few of a time, it kind of like mixed together with um, the Rise of Skywalker. So I was getting things mixed up. So I went through and looked at it, and they gave me all the acts of the movie. So Act One, the Resistance is on the brink, led by Princess Leia, and the First Order, led by Supreme Leader Snoke, with Kylo Ren is coming, and Rey seeks guidance. She went to the island where Luke was at, and in The Force Awakens, she hands him the lightsaber, and then in the Last Jedi, he looks at it and just flips it over his shoulder, like it was a piece of trash. And I'm just that that really bummed me out, that first scene. So, and then you have Finn and Poe. They're trying to disable a First Order tracking device. And then you have Hux, who they have a tracking device that can track ships through hyperspace. And then Poe, they do this bombing run on that big dreadnought, and it's a total disaster, and he gets reprimanded by the princess by slapping him or whatever, which he should have been like thrown in the brig or executed for disobeying orders, not because Princess Leia was feeling charitable at the time. So then Rey's training starts. Kylo Ren and Rey are connected to the Force. She somehow, well, before that, Luke reveals to Rey the dark side of the Force and its danger and influence, and his mistake with Ben, or Kylo Ren. And then the First Order launches its attack on the fleet, and Princess Leia gets blown out into space and uses the Force to Mary Poppins herself back into the ship. And then they try to get to the planet where it's all salt or whatever, and the admiral stays on board to sacrifice herself. And then they have the Battle of Crate, which is the planet with the salt. And unbeknownst to everybody, Luke is a hologram, and he goes out to fight uh, Kylo Ren, you know, and which is, I don't know, it I would have done so much different on that. So the two things that really kind of like made me go, well, one thing that made me go really was they killed off Snoke. Uh, like, I mean, the duel was okay, you know, with all of the Imperial guards surrounding Snoke, and you're wondering who's this Snoke guy. So, you know, Kylo, you know, uses a Force and chops him with Rey's lightsaber or Luke's lightsaber. So Snoke is dead like halfway through the movie, and this is like halfway through the the sequels. And I'm like, well, they just killed the bad guy, so they had to like go through and figure out who the next bad guy was going to be, I guess. Unless they were going to like make Snoke the ultimate bad guy. I mean, not Snoke, Kylo Ren, the ultimate bad guy. So it was a lot of back and forth, unknowns, uh, confusion. And then at the very end, the part that really broke me and made me hate the movie so much was the part where Luke dies. He comes back to himself from meditating on his planet where he was projecting himself to Crate, and he just falls down and he basically watches the sunrise and disappears into the because he used too much of the Force, or he just gave up, or whatever. It was never really explained. They said that people that could project themselves sometimes use too much of the Force, and it caused them to die or to become part of the Force. And I think that if Luke was the strongest Jedi besides Anakin, that wouldn't have happened at all. I think it would have been a conscious decision on Luke's part to join the Force. But seeing as the whole First Order hadn't been destroyed, I don't think he, and his nephew was still evil. I don't think he would have like joined the Force. I think he would have joined the rebellion with his sister and Rey and tried to, you know, defeat the First Order. But you know, that's water on the bridge, I guess. Okay, well, thanks for sticking with me for this whole diatribe on the basically the Last Jedi. Now, my favorite part of the whole movie was when Admiral Hodo sacrificed herself to destroy that dreadnought. Now, I was sitting there, I'm like, oh, what is she going to do? You know, is she going to try to like, you know, ram it or whatever? And she hit hyperspace and everything went black and white. And that dreadnought broke into three pieces. And the First Order was freaking out when they're like, what is she doing? What is she doing? Now, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, that's not correct. That's not correct. Well, I'm going to show you a clip of Han Solo in Star Wars, and when he was talking to Luke, talking about, you know, hyperspace lanes and doing calculations, and how if you don't have the right calculations, you'll end up in a star or something. And that was, I always remember that. He's like, you know, traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops, boy.
Traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops, boy. Without precise calculations, we'd fly right through a star or bounce too close to a supernova and then it end your trip real quick, wouldn't it?
And when people are like, oh, that wouldn't have happened. Well, whenever they would have a fleet going into hyperspace, they would always have to go into the hyperspace lane for where, it was the safest for them to travel. Because if something was in the lane and they hit it, they wouldn't even know they were dead. So that was the only thing. I'm trying to think. That was the only thing in the movie that I thought was really neat and that I really liked, was when Admiral Hodo just destroyed that dreadnought. And they even named it the Hodo maneuver, which I think is really neat. So let me know when you watched The Last Jedi, was there anything in the movie that you liked? Did you like the Hodo maneuver like I did? Was there something else? Put it in the comments below. Let me know. And also, if you didn't know, there was only in the movies, I'm only talking about the movies. In the movies, there's only one Jedi that ever killed a Sith. Do you know who it was? Well, if you watch my video, you'll find out who it is. Like that video, like this video, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And remember, the Force will be with you always.